I came close to giving up on my project because it was probably too vague and not well defined. But then I kept meeting people who, like me, believed in it and said, no, you can't give up. Please keep going. So I've kept going despite the fact that I can't figure out how to pay for it. So this is particularly frustrating. I would say this is the thing I spent most of the mental power on. And then I tried to be philosophical about it and thought, okay, I'm going to try and think differently, even if I have nothing tangible to show you at the end. And I think that I've succeeded at. I think, I mean, not completely, I'm not finished, but I think if I went back to talk to my bosses or if I went on to somewhere else and said, you know, let's talk foreign correspondence, I would talk about it completely, not completely differently, but much more broadly. It was quite naive because when I first wrote in on my application, I said I wanted to try to find some way to sustain it, to support the foreign correspondence that in my mind was the kind that's disappearing. And that's narrative enterprise, that's deep dives, the kind of stuff I saw my colleagues and predecessors do in China. And when I came out of China, they were closing bureaus left and right. And people were doing shorter stories and more entertaining stories and the most popular stuff. But not
the deeper stuff.
Not the stuff you need to know to understand China. And to some extent, part of that is still true. There's a heck of a lot of economic stories about China, and probably this is where you would go if you were trying to start a site and trying to make money and trying to find a niche market that would pay. But that's not where the deficit is. At least I don't think so, and many people I've talked to said, no, it's, you know, it's in danger of becoming a post-political story, which is not true. So how you support and sustain that can be your all-consuming project. And I, at some point, just decided to heck with the business model. Maybe I'll just think about the content. Well, early on, there was a lot of people saying, I'm exaggerating slightly here, but just in the interest of time, they would say, oh, nobody wants to read that stuff. Don't be ridiculous. You know, there'll always be a New York Times. You'll find a few elite people who will read that, but it's all Twitter now, and you should redesign foreign correspondence as a series of Twitter feeds, maybe with real-time video. And even though I respected the people who said that, and I realized they were saying a lot of things, we have to pay attention to a lot of things, I also felt like saying, don't be ridiculous. You know, that's just a tool. It helps you report. It helps get voices out in breaking news, in the cases of breaking news, but that's no substitute. And for a while I was sort of frustrated with how you bring the two together until I began to see that, you know, we should get beyond the either-or conversation, you know. And actually, despite the censorship in China, of which, you know, it's still a big challenge if you were going to start a website, there are thousands, millions of people who are going around the firewall